Hey guys, what's going on? I'm gonna take you through a couple of things that I've been using to help people with shoulder impingement. So when you're getting into shoulder impingement, a lot of times what we're finding is there's not enough space in the shoulder joint. So you basically got the head of the humerus that's just sitting in a bad spot inside the glenohumeral joint over here, or the muscles aren't engaging enough to kind of hold that upper arm in the middle of the joint. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a few things to kind of help restore some of the position. I do recommend that if you're somebody who tends to be really kind of hunched like this, do some mobility work for your spine first, lay over a foam roller, do some cat-cow, try to get some of that moving first. If we don't move the spine, it's hard to get the shoulder where we want it, but I'm gonna assume you've already done some of that. So the first thing that we're gonna do is create a little bit of traction on the shoulder joint. So what I've done is I've set up a bar that's a little bit lower than chest height in the rack, and I'm gonna use a kettlebell. You can use a kettlebell or a dumbbell, just something fairly heavy. The weight I'm gonna use is about 35 pounds, so not the heaviest weight you're ever gonna touch, but we want to have it be heavy enough that it's gonna create some pull. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my arm, I'm gonna drop my upper arm right over the end of the bar. I want this to be kind of right up into the crease of the armpit, but more towards the back. So I'm looking at like the teres muscles and some of the rotator cuff and the very high end of where the lat inserts up here. So once I kind of find that spot, I'm gonna pass the kettlebell underneath me, and all I'm gonna do is just let the weight pull. First, I'm just gonna let it kind of sit there for a good 10 or 15 seconds. I'll feel it start softening up a little bit. And then all I'm gonna do is just gently internally and externally rotate the shoulder. So all I'm gonna do is just turn my thumb in and turn my thumb out. And again, you can kind of play with how far each direction you wanna turn, but we wanna stay definitely more on the back, kind of half of the body. So I'm not gonna wanna turn so far forward that it starts to hit my pec over here. And so I'm just gonna do about 10 or 15 nice, slow, controlled rotations, trying to go a little further each time if I can, keeping a good grip on the weight, not just letting it kind of hang in my fingertips. And again, just sinking into some of that pressure. So all we're doing is just trying to get a little bit of space and soften up some of the tissue that's probably holding the shoulder in a bad spot. So we'll do both sides. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some band work. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take kind of a medium thickness band. This is about a 1-inch thick band. I'm gonna attach it around the rack, pull one end through the other, and I'm gonna do two different things with this. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow the shoulder to drift into internal rotation, and then I'm gonna pull it back. So I'm gonna do almost like a PNF, stretch and contraction for the internal rotator position. So I'm actually working on the external rotators by trying to get into internal rotation. If these muscles are really tight, they're not gonna allow for a lot of give. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my hand, kind of anchor it right roughly at my belly button, take my other hand and hold onto my wrist right here. I'm gonna turn this way. The band should be right above my elbow joint. And I'm just gonna back up a little bit. I don't need a crazy amount of tension, but I'll let the band pull me into internal rotation, so my shoulder blade's opening up and the shoulder itself is rotating into internal rotation. I'm gonna feel that pull on the back side of the shoulder. So again, I'm moving the external rotators to get into this position. So that's where I'm gonna feel a stretch. And then all I'm gonna do is just pull the elbow back, let it, and just every time I do this, I'm trying to push that elbow a little further forward. And I'm anchoring everything right here, so that way I know that I'm not moving it from the wrong joint. Okay, so just back and forth and back and forth. So a little bit of scapula and moving at the shoulder joint itself. So I'm gonna do maybe about 10 or so of these to help get some full range, because a lot of times those muscles are gonna sit so short and so tight that there's not gonna be a lot of space for them to move. So now we're trying to actually create some movement. So now we're gonna add some contraction. So now I'm gonna take the big band and a smaller band, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna position my arm in pretty much the same spot, but now I'm turning myself to the side. So my goal here is to pull my elbow in fairly tight to the side like this. So I'm actively using my lat to kind of close this gap. And then with the smaller band, and this is not a super heavy band, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grip it here, and I'm gonna grip it here. So I'm just kind of holding one hand on my side. And all I'm doing is I'm moving now into actually contracting the external rotators. So out. So now I'm contracting all the muscles that I had just been trying to get to loosen up a little bit. So now I can actually hit them through a full range of motion, because when I started, if they're really tight and essentially short already, there's not a whole lot of space for them to actually contract because they're already just so short and contracted. So I'm gonna do about another 10 of these. And the idea is I'm coupling this adduction at the arm with some external rotation here. So I would start with just one round of each thing. Obviously do both sides. I only did one side. Do that prior to your training, especially if you've been dealing with any sort of impingement in any of your pressing positions. So whether it be bench press, incline press, overhead press, push up, anything like that, I would start here, see if we can get the shoulder position into a better spot. But then what's important is you don't just want to do this and then go sit. You want to do this before you start training so we can kind of repattern everything and get your body to start getting used to getting into better positions. So give this a shot. If it works, let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and I will see you guys next time.